Wow. Well done, guys. I like what you've done with the place.
You know, it's quite nice,
this
isn't
is
it?
nice, really nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I like the logo in the end there as well. That's really, really nice. Who put that in there?
Yep, that's all me. That I did that.
Okay.
It's quite a nice touch, isn't it? I did it.
Yeah, it's very nice. So, how much does this cost then?
How much?
It's pretty much exactly $3 grand, but it's especially good for video editing.
Yeah, about
$3 grand.
$3 grand.
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? Can't you get it any cheaper?
Yeah, you definitely can actually, and if you watch till the end of the video, like to the end, then I'll actually show you how you can save roughly around $1,000 of this, so you can get it like 30% cheaper than what the whole price point is. That's what good, isn't it, though? I mean, who doesn't want to save money, eh?
Yeah, yeah,
well, I do.
Yeah, I do.
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
loads.
I like to. Me as well.
I save everything.
That's me.
Yeah.
Spending less.
What about Apple though? Because, you know, if you're spending $3 grand on this, how does this compare to some of the Apple products? Because, you know, video editing, they might want to get that.
Or, well, about that, well, we're actually gonna compare this thing here to the Apple M3 Max, and I don't want to spoil the results for you, but you probably want to see the results in the end of the video, because, yeah, that's quite good. He's onto something there. Well, sounds like an interesting video.
Oh, it's really good.
Let's go for it.
Let's go.
Let's get going. Let's go for it.
Looking for a cheap way to license your Windows? Check out Whokeys through the links in the video description. Make sure to use the code TN20
to get 25% off. Use your preferred payment method including PayPal or bank card. Go to your orders and copy the key.
Paste the license to the activation settings and you're all done. This license is for Windows 10, but you can upgrade it to Windows 11 for free.
Or you can buy Windows 11 Pro key instead.
They also offer Microsoft Office 19 license. Use the same code TN20
to get 25% off.
Check out whokeys.com in the video description below.
So usually we're going to start with the motherboard, but this time let's start with the case. So this is the Lian O11 Dynamic Vision Chrome. And the chrome means that these glass panels are basically, they have like a chromish finish. It's kind of like a mirror, but then you can still see through it. So you can take the front glass off as well if you wanted to during the install, but I'm not gonna because I don't want any extra work. So perhaps you might want to do the same thing. Now, if you have taken these thumb screws off from the back here, one from here, then this back panel is kind of loose. And what we can do is actually take the whole motherboard tray off. So there's a little thumb screw on the top there that needs a little bit of screwdriver help. Okay. And now the whole motherboard frame comes off and we can install all the motherboard just in there. So for the motherboard, we're using a Gigabyte Z790 Gaming X-AX. And why this motherboard? Well, there's a few reasons. Firstly, this is the best DDR5 value motherboard for creators for what you're gonna get, because you're gonna get a lot of features. Firstly, you're gonna get Z790, which means you've got quite a lot of different things going on in here. Lots of M.2 storage, DDR5, and it only costs $200. So if you're looking for kind of something budget to get started in your PC building, then this is a great option. We've also got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in, so you don't need any extra accessories to plug that one in. We've got fast front panel USB-C port. We've actually got a Thunderbolt port here as well. So if you do need Thunderbolt add-in card or something like that, you can buy it and plug it in there in the bottom slot somewhere over there. Now you could go with some of the different designs and perhaps even Aero G version if you want USB-C video output as a video editor, but you might not need that. And in terms of motherboard, that just gives you good RAM support, good CPU power delivery, fast connection ports, DDR5 memory that supports a lot of capacity, then it's very hard to beat this motherboard. I know this is called Gaming X motherboard, and you know, me as a creator, I don't really like that name. If I can get over that, it actually looks all right. Also, if you plan to save a little bit on the CPU, depending on the price, we're gonna go with the 14700K. But if you go with 13700K, for example, then on this motherboard, you can make the 13700K run even faster than 14700K because of the instant 6 GHz feature. Now, I'm curious if we actually can get the 6 GHz feature also with the 14700K, because at first this wasn't launched on the 14th gen, it was launched on the 30th gen. So we're going to test that out as well. Here's our 14700K, and we're going to get that installed there. I highly recommend you spend extra $10 to $20 to get yourself one of these. They're contact frames for Intel's 12th, 13th, 14th gen. That's gonna make your CPU run cooler as well as faster, because when it's cooler, it's faster. So changing that is very, very easy. Now, I should have done this actually on the mat here before putting it on the motherboard tray. So when you're doing it, don't make that mistake. All we do is just use that Torx head, undo these screws. And the reason I'm installing the CPU first is because then I'm not going to damage any of the contact pins on the motherboard, because the CPU is already installed. Right. I'm holding the back frame in place while we take this guy here. As you can see, there's a little arrow. The arrow lines up with the CPU. I'm going to put one in that corner, one in that corner, and then now it holds in, so I don't need to hold the back bracket anymore. The good thing about this Thermalright contact frame is that it's got hard stops. If you look at Thermal Grizzly one, you actually have to have a certain tension on it and have to measure like the degrees you're going to turn your Allen wrench. But this guy, just basically screw it down. There's no way how you can screw that up really. Just only recommendation is like try to still tighten it in a star pattern, so you're not tightening one corner all the way and then the rest. Just kind of be reasonable about it. Perfect. All done. Solid. Hey, this part of the video is sponsored by Newegg. Let me tell you 3 things that you might not know about Newegg. Number 1, hot new tech section. This is where you can find some of the most popular items that people are purchasing or on Newegg, and some of the newest releases also in that section. When I was browsing that, 2 items caught my eye. Number 1, MSI Supreme Expert RTX 4080 Super. Now this is a beautiful design GPU, and I can see that already on a deal there, which makes this GPU cheapest on Newegg than anywhere else. Worth checking out. And secondly, Samsung 990 EVO, which I tested, and it was absolutely amazing drive, and now I can find it there for quite a good price as well. And it was only recently relaunched, and now a new product on a deal. Well, that's a great section to check out. Number 2, AI PC Builder. Well, how does that work? Well, if you want to build yourself a PC, but you don't exactly know where to start, perhaps you want to start with a CPU, you know you want to use the 14700K, try out the AI PC Builder and let the AI give you a few options of some of the other options that people are building, so you get a great place to start, or just completely get it configured for yourself. Number 3, Newegg Refreshed. It's a great way to save money when looking for PC parts, accessories, or Apple products, or anything else. There you can find products on a deal, not new, but they have a refreshed 90-day guarantee. Refund or replacement, you choose. For example, one thing that caught my eye was the Sony 1000 XM4 headphones, very high quality headphones, but on a very good deal. Now feel free to browse that section and find some of the deals that you're interested in, perhaps used GPUs. Check out Newegg and all of their offerings down in the description below, as well as in the pinned comments. I'll leave everything that I talked about in this section in the pinned comments as well, so it's a little bit easier to find. Thanks Newegg for sponsoring this part of the video. Now back to building this PC. SSD installation. So we'll take the heat sinks off. The newer Gigabyte boards like the Aero D TRX 50, they have quick release system for the whole thing, and that's going to be so nice. I think that's going to happen for the rest of their lineup as well, so I can't wait for this to actually come for the rest of the lineup as well. So they do have it here on the quick release here, but they also did it for the whole heatsink as well, so the heatsink is quick release as well. So for the OS drive, we're going to be using Kingston Fury Renegade, which is a very, very good drive, and that's 1 TB in size. A Gen 4 drive, very, very fast as well. And then for the project drive, we'll actually be using the Solidigm P44 Pro. Now, as a video editor, the reason why you want to separate the operating system programs and your project drive is so that you're not bottlenecking one and the other. You want a drive that's really, really fast to run your projects and all the assets that your video editing is on. So when you're recording something, it goes all on this secondary drive where all of our projects are. So when you're creating a project, all the assets, everything lives in there and you edit off that one. But the actual program, operating system, and all the background tasks are run by this primary drive where we have our Windows installed. And you want to separate that one because that will give you the optimal workflow and performance. And if you haven't seen my whole storage workflow guide, go check it out, where I'm going to talk also about the cache drive and archive drive. But in this motherboard, you've got 4 slots. They're all Gen 4 slots. So if you want to add extra project drives or cache drives or something like that, then you've got 2 slots free. I'm just going to put 2. Peel this off. That's going to keep our SSDs nice and cool. The same here. Now, if you're scared of making a mistake and buying wrong parts, I'm going to leave everything that I'm talking about here and showcasing in the video description below, as well as the cheaper alternatives. I mentioned in the intro that you can save some money on this, so feel free to check them out in the description below. So far, what we have installed, you can actually save a little bit of money. In terms of the contact frame, if there's different color that's different pricing, just go for that one. You're not going to see that anyway, so you might be able to save a little bit in there. In terms of the CPU, if you go with 13700K, you might be able to save some money. It's slightly slower, but you can still run it at 6 GHz. But in some of the instances, the 14th gen is actually cheaper. I am checking them on Newegg right now, and the 14th gen is actually cheaper than the 13th gen, the same i7, which is interesting. So that's why you want to check out both of the links in the description below to make sure that you're not buying, you know, an older one just for the sake of it, but when the newer one is actually cheaper and slightly faster. In terms of the SSDs, for Kingston Fury Renegade, they're what we used for the SSD. You could go with the Solidigm P44 Pro 1TB instead, and there you could save another $10, which is the fastest OS and programs drive that I have tested, faster than Samsung 990 Pro. And in terms of the project drive, if you want 2 TB there, because I've got 1 OS and 2 TB for the project drive, you could go with Western Digital SN850X, and there you can save extra $25 or so. So links in the description below. For RAM, as a video editor, you want to go 64 GB, and don't get 4 sticks just for the sake of it. For example, here I have Team Group Vulkan DDR5, and these are 32 GB sticks. So even though they look really, really nice on this motherboard, so if we get them installed, they do look really, really nice. But this is not the ideal configuration to get 64 GB of RAM. And I would say go with separate kit because it's gonna be cheaper and better as well. And here's why. Your IMC now is gonna have to run all of these 4 sticks in there for the memory, which is very, very hard for it, and it might not be able to run them at the advertised XMP profile. So these are 5600 megatransfers per second. If you had 2 sticks, it's much lighter for the IMC on the CPU to run these sticks, and hence I would recommend getting 64 GB in 2 DIMM configuration, or you can go 96 now as well. So later on you have the option to upgrade to 128 GB or 192 GB, but if you just need 64 GB, which for video editing I'd recommend kind of as minimum, if you're doing serious video editing as a job, 64 GB is what you'd want to see. I've got some different RAM on the way, so we'll see if that arrives in time for me to actually showcase this here, and then we're going to change and actually fix the RAM issue there. But if you do want to save money on RAM configuration, I can see right now the Crucial Pro RAM, you could save around $80 when going with Crucial Pro 5600 megatransfers per RAM. I'm going to leave that in the description below. Very similar black design, in case even more minimalistic, and it's going to look very, very nice. Now, you could get an RGB RAM as well if you wanted to get some lights in there. For example, Kingston Fury Beast RGB. We've got one of these in that build over there, nicely white. You could have that in there to actually showcase a little bit of a PC. But up to you. Now the cooler. I'm going to be using the NZXT Kraken 360, and this is a very nice minimalistic cooler that we'll be using for this build, and it's going to look very, very nice. Now, NZXT has included these fans, but we've got something a lot better than this one, so we won't be using these included fans. We'll just be using the radiator and the pump. cooler mounting installed. So basically, I've got some insane fans from Lian. These are the Unifan TL LCD 120. So these have actual screen on the fan, which is insane. So you can get this to showcase all sorts of temperatures. And we also have a screen on the CPU cooler. So that's interesting as well. So you can have these fans reverse plates as well, so you don't have like the back of the fan showing. We're gonna have 3 fans on the CPU cooler pulling the air in. So these are intake fans, but they're reversed fans. Then we have 420mm fan option on the bottom, but I only have 3 reversed fans because 2 of them are, you know, the normal fans, so I don't want to show a screen onto the ground because that wouldn't make any sense. So these reverse fans, I'm just going to put 3 on the bottom to just intake some of this air on the top, and then 1 of the other LCD fans that goes in the back of the PC case as an exhaust. So we're going to have quite a lot of intake, so it's going to have a positive pressure inside the case, and then we're going to be pushing the air out in from the back. So let's install some of these fans. Nice little rubber ends here as well. So Lian now is copying off Fantex, which is interesting, to get this very nice clean fan design so you don't see any screws. And you can actually cheat as well. You can just put 2 screws in here because all these fans kind of clip together and they hold it straight. Now here's the fans that go on the bottom for intake, pulling this up, and these will be these Unifans TL without the reversed plate. So as you can see, these reverse blades clip together as well. Now, since the motherboard tray also has the fan on the back of this here, we can actually get this installed as well. Now, here's the thing. You might be thinking, goodness me, these fans are so expensive. And you're right, they're probably one of the most expensive fans in the world per fan, you know, cost. Because I think one of the TLC fans cost like around $50. If you want a much more affordable version that saves you a ton of money, but actually gets the same performance, if not better, then I highly recommend checking out Arctic P12 Max that I can see going for less than $10 per fan on Amazon. You might get even a better deal if you're going buying a multiple pack. But these are amazing fans, very, very quiet, very, very good performance fans as well. Make sure that it's P12 Max. The Max means a little bit of better quality and fan design and a little bit faster as well. Now, putting the motherboard in there with just 1 tightening screw there, that's pretty solid. Now we just use these thumb screws in the back, and that's all tight. This is looking pretty nice. Now the GPU. We couldn't have a PC without the GPU, especially video editing PC. For that we have something very, very special. This is the ROG STRIX Gaming 4070 Ti Super. A bit of a mouthful, but this is actually a baby 4080. And if you look at the 4080 prices, then this one is actually cheaper. Not this particular model, because that is very close to the 4080 pricing. Because this goes roughly around $1,000. $50 short. So if you can find this for quite a bit cheaper than the 4080, then this STRIX model makes sense. But at this price point, you might be able to get like a lower end 4080, which is a little bit better. Then I recommend going with this one. But the 4070 Ti Super actually has 2 media engines inside, and since we don't make the 4070 Ti anymore, that is very good for video editing when we're exporting video, because we can encode video at double the speed, up to double the speed. Now this one here is one of the nicest GPUs that you can get there, and hence the a little bit more expensive pricing as well. But if you do want to save some money, there are some other cheaper alternative, exactly the same performance versions out there. So I'm gonna leave some in the description below, and you can save around $100 by going with some of the different alternative versions. So if you want to check it out, I'm going to leave some links in the description below. And if you like one of those black GPUs that kind of fits in this theme, maybe check out the Palette 4070 Ti Jetstream, because that has no RGB and just nice black in there. When talking about GPU alternatives, there is another option that is even faster. Now, if you don't mind very bad 3D performance for a GPU, and then I highly recommend checking out the AMD Radeon 7900 XT, which actually has even more VRAM and is better in pretty much every single way in video editing, apart from video encoding quality and GPU effects. So if these two things aren't very important for you and you want generally cheaper and better video editing performance, especially in DaVinci Resolve, check out the 4070 Ti Super review, and then you see what I mean about the 7900 XT from AMD being actually better at a lower price point. And then you can save even more, around $200, and get even better video editing performance. For the power supply, I'm using Phanteks Revolt 1000 watt power supply. This is quite an expensive power supply because you get a very, very nice cable kit with it. Well, actually, when you buy the power supply, there's actually no cables with it. You're gonna have to buy them separately. There's different versions and different like colors you can get them, but these are really, really nice black design. And they even have the 12 volt high power cable that is black. And that's why I want this one. I want them all to look super, super nice. As you can see, we can plug this one in there and have a really, really nice design on this. And the same with our ATX power supply, as well as these on the top there. Now, if you do want to actually save and you're not so much bothered about the design or the looks of this, you can go with a cheaper alternative and save actually about $250, believe me or not. I'm gonna leave some alternatives in the description below. Next to the original, you'll find them there. But very importantly, if you do go with NVIDIA power supply, then I highly recommend getting a power supply that's ATX 3.0 rated, which means you do get a native 12 volt high power cable, which we can plug in there, and it's going to look much nicer than just having a big extension here and a bunch of cables that go down from there. Right, the power is on, everything's on, so let's see if this is actually going to turn on. Oh, I freaked out a little bit because the fans weren't turning, and I thought I need to put this fan header in, but it just takes some time for the Lian box to actually start working. Voila! In BIOS we are. Would you look at that? So time to update the BIOS, install Windows, and I'll see you in a minute. So finally, the PC has been built, it's all set up, Windows installed, drivers, BIOS, everything you can think of, it's all done. As well as the looks. Now, I have chosen the teal and orange theme, as you can already see, and I'm quite liking this one. Now, there's so many different options of what you can do with the looks, you can do whatever you want, but I think this looks really, really nice. There's not a lot of PCs that offer what this one offers here, that you have a lot of nice looks on the PC, and this panel is also very, very reflective. Obviously, I don't have the side panel on because it is very reflective, but this is basically like a mirror that shines through and is a little bit dimmed or tinted. As you can see, the backlight in here It dims down when it goes behind the glass over here, but it's also very, very reflective. It reflects everything. So the inside and the outside of the glass are very, very similar. All the screens on the fans, I've got 4 in here, plus the AIO. You can change them whatever you want. You can make it show whatever temperature you want, whatever stats you want, as well as pictures, as well as video if you wanted to, or GIFs, whichever one you want or prefer. I can see the GPU temperature, CPU utilization, as well as CPU temperature. Very nice information to know just glancing over to the PC. One thing I have noticed of these screens is that the NZXT screen compared to the Lian ones is very, very dim, or the Lian ones are very, very bright. So if you want a matching screen for the AIO, maybe you might want to go with the Lian Galahad 2 LCD version, which we used on the ProAd build, because then you'll got a little bit of a brighter display there as well, and you can have the same RGB on the sides as well, very similar to these fans. Now, on second thought, perhaps that would have been a better option to go for, but hey, I want to try different things. Another highlight that I've noticed when building with this is the STRIX GPU here. This really is a premium GPU. Whenever you've used some of the lower end ones or higher end ones, this truly feels like a higher one ones, because there is hardly any sag on this. I don't have any brackets, any extra external GPU holding or anything. This is very, very solid in here. The RGB is pretty cool and unique on this, on the side of the GPU. I'm liking it. The only downside I have about this GPU is the gamers bits here. Please, we don't have to put gaming on anything. Put it on the box, but not on the GPU. I can work with it if it's on the box, but on the GPU, please. Republic of Gamers, come on, can we grow up? This is a bit cheesy. Anyone agree with me? Let me know in the comment section below. We don't need that. In the video I mentioned that I was going to change the RAM to a different one, and I was going to use the Team Group T-Create Classic black ones here, what I have here. These are absolutely amazing looking dim streaks. It did arrive in time, but because it's quite a new release of RAM, Gigabyte hasn't actually verified it yet with their, board. So this RAM actually doesn't fit with this PC yet. Now, by the time you're watching this, this might be possible, so I highly recommend checking out the QVL list for the RAM on the website, because that would look so much better. As you can see from the B-roll, when you've got all the 4 sticks installed, it is absolutely gorgeous, and it just fits there so nice with like a little bit of black, but no RGB, and the T-Create on the top. It's a great PC. It makes sense. It's nice. I like it. But for now, I couldn't get it to boot even with 2 sticks, no XMP, nothing on. The PC doesn't boot with these RAM sticks, just so you know. So instead, I'm using the Kingston Fury Beast. This is 5600 megatransfers per second, and only 2 sticks, 64 gigabytes. You can get dual of these, and then you can get 128 gigabytes of RAM if you need that for video editing. Again, I'll leave some alternatives in the description below. The other benefit with the Gigabyte boards though is that it allows you to give you the 6 gigahertz feature. Even though we have the 14700K, this is running at 6 gigahertz, which means that it's going to be slightly faster in some of the video and photo editing applications, especially Photoshop, that require single core performance. It's going to be faster, so that's nice. If you want to learn more about that feature, go check out my video on the topic. Now, here's what you want to know is, how does this compare to something like the Mac? I had the M3 Max MacBook Pro in that costs $4,000, so extra 30% more than this guy. So let's take a look, how does that line up? Firstly, we're going to look at Photoshop. And I know this is video editing, but perhaps you do a little bit of photo editing as well, so it's good to know. Now, in Photoshop, as you can see, we're very, very similar or very close to Mac. In some of the scores, we're much higher, and we could say that the PC is better. But we're focusing on video editing, so let's take a look at video editing results then. So in Premiere Pro, we can see that the PC is 25 to 38% faster in the extended and standard overall scores, which we can say is pretty solid win over the Mac, considering even the price point. And if you take the discount included here as well, then you can pretty much get this half the price at what we can the Mac. There are a few things though that Mac does better. As you can see, the intra-frame score in extended and standard scores is better on the Mac, which is ProRes playback, and that's kind of logical because Apple's got to be the best at playing back their own codec. ProRes is Apple's codec, just so you know. And those media engines, ProRes encoders and decoders on the M3 Max are very, very good, and you can see we're 31% better in the extended scores. The standard one is kind of the same, 4% slower. That's not much, but Look at the PC's raw standard score. That's 267% faster, which is just more than 2.5 times faster than the M3 Max, which is very, very impressive. GPU effects obviously on another level. So I'm not sure about you, but I'd kind of take the PC over the Mac, unless you need portability, but that's another conversation. Now, if you're looking for DaVinci Resolve results, then you can see them here on the screen. We've got the extended and standard overall. That's 18.6.4 DaVinci Resolve Studio, the paid version, as well as After Effects if you want to compare it to your own scores. But also another thing I wanted to test is the Blender score, because we've got this massive GPU in here compared to Max. You know, where does it actually score? Oof, okay. So the 40 Ti Super that we have here is close to 3 times faster. The scores here are pretty insane. Almost 3 times as fast in Monster, Junk Shop and Classroom scenes. So as you can see, the dedicated graphics card is a whole another level compared to your portable M3 Max. But I'm sure you already knew that. I guess it's fair to say that this is pretty insane video editing PC. What you might want to see is the actual temperature testing of how good is the AIO, how good is the cooling. Well, let's test that. 100 degrees, as you can see, we're pulling 300 watts. So that definitely is going to make it thermal throttle. As you can see, if you've got multi-core enhancement on, probably not what you want to do, because it's really not going to be able to keep up with that. But as a video editor, I highly recommend you not doing that and putting on 256. Do we have an XDU here? Now, this is still a little bit over Intel's spec, which is it's boosting to 260 watt at first, but the long term is 53. So if we're going to apply these settings here now, and let's take a look at these scores now here. As you can see, we're pushing to 260 watts. We're not thermal throttling anymore, as you can see here, 82 degrees. And then pretty soon we should be able to go down to 256 watts. So that is roughly what this cooler is able to do. Now, because of the fan layout and the fans, these Lian Li fans are very, very nice, but they're not the best performance fans. They're not shifting the most air, they're not giving the best air pressure. If you want very good performance of these, I'd recommend checking out either Arctic P12 Max or Lian Li P28 fans, which are performance fans, and they are actually much better at cooling the radiator and everything else. As you can see, we can still hold 260 watts kind of roughly there. It's sometimes for a minute thermal throttles in some of the cores there, and then goes down. So cooling is okay. And this particular kind of nice looking layout of the PC case isn't the best for the cooling performance. It would be much better to actually get a straight on airflow from the front to the back, because right now the air has to do kind of a circle and go around and do twizzly thing, coming in from the back side, then from the bottom we're pushing it up, and then from the top it doesn't have anywhere to go. It's gonna have to like be pushed to the back and then out from the back, which is kind of awkward airflow and not the best in this situation. So in conclusion, is this video editing PC worth building and making? The answer is absolutely. Now, is this the best bang for buck for your PC? Probably not. And if you do want the best bang for buck, there's links for those in the description below. But if you want something fancy and you like things how they look, then this is absolutely awesome. Those Lian Li fans, there's nothing like it, as well as the GPU and what this PC looks like. It is one of the kind. And you can find all the links in the description below. If you want any other questions from me, reach out in Minect, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.